Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, welcome to the show. This is the Millennial Millionaire podcast, and I am your host, Stephen Cohen. This podcast is focused on bringing some of the wisest minds from across the globe to discuss concepts, strategies, and ideals that will lead them to be top performers in their respective industries and their lives. This show is for the millennials and millennials at heart to transcend their mindset, their health, and their income to the next level. We are so excited to have you on this journey with us. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show, everyone. For today's guest, another special guest, we have Mr. Hardik Jagda. Hardik is all the way out here from Palo Alto, California. He is an engineer turned entrepreneur, speaker, and angel investor. He is the founder and CEO of Proximity Works. He's an AI wizard, and super excited to have you on the show, dude.
Oh, thank you so much, Stephen, for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know we made this work last minute. You had to push back your flight, so I appreciate you making it happen.
No, of course. Thanks a lot for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Let's do it, dude.
Yeah.
We're gonna dive right in. So tell us a little bit about your story. So obviously you own Proximity Works.
Yeah.
You run it. You weren't always a founder and a CEO. At first you were an entrepreneur, and then you took that skill set, and now you've created your own company. So tell us a little bit about the journey from operator as an engineer to now being an entrepreneur and obviously running a super successful company.
Yeah. I'll start with a little bit of a background of why I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So when I was a kid, Bill Gates was my hero when I was a kid. So I used to watch him on TV. This is after he had built Microsoft and he had moved to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I saw him on the ground in India trying to eradicate polio. And that had a huge impact on me. I realized what a person who builds one of the biggest technology companies in the world with billions of dollars in valuation, having a foundation that alongside with the company, what it can actually have an impact on the entire planet. So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had decided early on that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to build one of the biggest technology companies in the world and also have a philanthropic foundation wherein the profits from the companies would flow into the foundation, and that foundation would be dedicated towards solving some of the causes for humanity.
When did you realize that?
Sorry?
How old were you when you realized that?
This is, I think, 6th or 7th grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big vision for a middle schooler.
Thank you. So like I said, so I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I had to start working pretty early. I had to start supporting my family. I had a lot of financial obligations at home. So I started working as a software engineer. My first job was I was working and helping develop e-commerce websites for Fortune 100 companies. And this company was, at that point, I was earning $150 a month. So humble beginnings. But I put in my heart, soul into the job. So I was working 16, 18 hours a day, trying to learn everything that I could. And quickly, I think it took me 15 months to make the right jump after that. And I moved on to a much more senior leadership role in a different company. And every other company that I worked in, I believe, 5 or 6 product startups. And every company had a similar trajectory. So I helped solve some key problem for the company. And then I moved to the next company in a more senior leadership position. Always getting hired at a point when a company has solved the most basic product market fit problem and now need a specialist to come on board and help build a scalable product and help build a product that can potentially be used by millions of users. So the engineering that goes behind that kind of a product is very different than the kind of engineering that goes into an early stage product.
Talk to me a little bit about how important mastery was, because you got really good at a specific skill set and you worked your way up different companies, different startups. I imagine maybe at the time that startup took you to the next startup. I think a lot of people, when they're in a certain company or space or they're trying to work their way up a corporate ladder, they don't realize that opportunity can take them to the next opportunity if they're open to it. Talk to me about how important mastery is, I think, in a time where most people are trying to focus on so many different things at the same time.
I think there's a point in everyone's career where they have to be a generalist and a specialist as well. I believe I've done both. When I started off, I was doing all kinds of engineering work. In later jobs, I started specializing in more consumer-facing applications. One of the applications that I helped build in India was similar to what you have in the US as DoorDash. So I built the consumer platform engineering for the consumer platform for a company which was similar to DoorDash in India, and the equivalent of DoorDash in India at that point. Though that company got acquired, but just the fact to build something when you have to think about what different kinds of user personas will actually be using the product, that in itself takes a lot of kind of knowledge acquisition that you normally don't have if you're a generalist. So so as the jobs progressed, I started getting more and more involved in more consumer facing stuff, started learning more about the business side of things as well. And all of those, all kinds of knowledge that you get from speaking to customers, which is not very common. Not all engineers speak to customers, right? So that helps you in like developing a more comprehensive understanding of where the product is, where the business is. And so I believe as an entrepreneur, you have to be a very good generalist, definitely. But you have to be a specialist at one or two key things where you are 10 out of 10.
I agree.
Yeah.
Tell me about the transition from, obviously you've been a super smart guy for a really long time. You've honed your skill set. You know, you've had a really big vision since you were 12, 13 years old. And you worked your way through different startups, starting to learn the business. What was that transition from being a employee and being a developer and being more of behind the scenes and, you know, on your computer, to then making the transition to now running your own company, dealing with employees, leading people? What was that transition like?
I guess I've worked in I think the last 3 jobs that I had, I worked in senior leadership positions there. So I'd already started leading people. And the way I wanted proximity to be was when I actually was thinking about what's the best company that I can build. I started thinking about all the best leaders that I'd worked with in the past, the ones that I'd respected the most, the ones where I got to learn the most, and what was the culture like in those teams, and what was the culture like in those companies. And I wanted to make sure that I take the best parts of all of those things and implement that into Proximity's core DNA. I think we did a pretty good job in setting up the culture, right?
I always like kind of hearing the story from employee to entrepreneur, because I think a lot of people have these big goals and dreams, right? You knew what you wanted from middle school. Yeah. I want to make, you know, one of the biggest tech companies that impact. I want to create one of the best philanthropist movements possible. But to actually execute that from that idea is very, very difficult. That not many people are wanting to do. So I think a lot of people are maybe stuck in a job. Maybe they like it. Maybe they don't. Maybe they're exercising a skill set like you had that you actually enjoy. They just don't have the faith or the confidence or the vision to really take it from an idea into execution. When it comes to starting that business, obviously starting a startup is always scary and it's challenging. And I imagine you left a comfy, high-paying job to take a lot of risk. Yeah. What was your mindset and what obstacles did you have to overcome during that transition from having a safe, comfy safety net financially to then basically risking it all with the odds against you?
Yeah. So the last job that I had from 2017 to 2019, while I was working at a startup leading an engineering team there, let me take a step back. A lot of people think that you have to risk it all up and just go and start working full time on your entrepreneurial journey. I think it's very important to build a specialist skill set and a generalist skill set first. Once you become very good at those things, I think it's a good. The odds are not that much against you, and very few, as you know, like 1 out of 1,000, 1 out of 10,000 startups actually succeed, right? So you have to make sure that you build the foundation right, and that foundation is everywhere from having the right career skill set of wherever you will be starting that company in, but having that right career skill set, be it in marketing, be it in engineering, be it in sales. Along with that, also a very strong mental and physical foundation, physical fitness foundation, I feel. I always say this, that you should build yourself first before you try to build your company. Because the amount of pressure that you get when you're actually building that company or running that company, it's almost inhuman. So you have to be able to withstand that kind of pressure and withstand all kinds of things that will be coming at you, right? Like being an entrepreneur is like a firefighter. So you're always trying to put out fires. And you can't do that kind of a job unless you are mentally, physically very strong to be able to do that. And so that's where I feel like most people should invest their time and energy in doing that. And that might be, everyone's path is different. I think that might be them going through 5-6 different jobs, or that might be them just jumping on it full time and doing it. For me, like I said, I was pretty much wired as an entrepreneur. So I was forcing myself to go to work for someone else because every inch of my being was, wanting to be like just starting a company. So I just used like all of that time, that when the pain is high enough, we want to make sure that you build your skills in a way where there are no, there's no ambiguity in whether you'll be able to do it or not.
When did you know? Was it more of a financial thing? Was it more of like an intuition thing? When did you know, hey, I have enough experience, I've modeled enough from the leaders before me that I know that I can do this? Like, what was that breaking point? You just said, until the pain of change outweighs the pain of staying the same, nothing ever changed. Was it a boss that said something to you that you got mad about? Was it just you were sick of the income cap that you had? Like, what was that breaking point for you where you're like, enough is enough, it's time for me to go live out my entrepreneurial spirit?
It was a series of things. It wasn't a one-off thing that happened. In fact, on the income side, I was actually making a lot more money than I actually even didn't make for the first 2-3 years of starting the company. So I wasn't at that same salary up until 2 years ago, for the first 2 years of the company, for the last job that I left. So it's, I think when when a lot of things are not under your control when you're growing up, you tend to make sure that if you build yourself to a level where you own your own destiny, you want to make sure that you do whatever it takes to get there, right? And I feel everyone should set a very lofty goal in their lives, because it just leaves no time for getting distracted in any way, no time to doubt yourself, no time to... I keep doubting myself, everybody does, but still, like at an aggregate level, I think you can still push yourself much harder. So setting a lofty goal and putting in incremental work daily, I think that is what got me there. I was visualizing what I wanted to be pretty much every single day. And I don't even know what was that point, to be honest. It just happened. To give you some context, I was telling you about the 2 years that I worked before founding Proximity. I was actually trying to build a company at that point while doing a full-time job. So I was working 50 hours a week, I believe, at that job that I was working at. And I used to spend early mornings and late nights working on multiple different kinds of projects and experiments that I felt would one day become a startup. So I was waking up at 3 a.m. That was my wake up hour every morning. And 3 to 7, I used to work on my startup idea. 7 to, I think 8 to 9 or 8 to 10, I used to go to the gym. That is when I was also physically not fit. So I was trying to make sure that I've built a very strong physical foundation as well. So I used to make sure that I was going to the gym every day. And then around 11 o'clock, I was going to the office. We were working on US time zone, so it was a little bit of a later part of the day used to start working. And then 11 to 8 or something, I used to be at the office and then come back and then again work in 4-5 hours. And yeah, I was sleeping like 3-4 hours. I didn't value sleep at that point much, which I now realize is, it's very important. But yeah, I didn't have much of a choice. So I just wanted to make sure that I do everything I can to start my own company. In the 2 years that I did all the kinds of experiments, none of those actually panned out, but I learned a lot in all different kinds of skills. I was actually learning how to run Instagram ads. I was learning how to run Facebook ads. I had no background in marketing, so I was reading a lot of books on that, reading a lot of biographies of how different entrepreneurs closed their first set of customers, or how did they get through the initial obstacle at that point. Long story short, nothing worked out at that point. And then I decided, burn the boats, just jump on it full time. And I had, I think, 6 months of runway. and I just jumped on it, and I figured out, sort of like, it's like jumping off a cliff and figuring out how to build a parachute, right? So that's what I started doing at that point.
It's inspiring, man. 18-hour days, that's what it takes sometimes. I think, people listening to this, they may be stuck in a situation, or maybe they're worried to take that leap of faith, right? Jumping off of the cliff. But I think most people, you need to understand the season that you're in. You were in a season of your life where you needed to work 18 hours to learn what you needed to and fail forward to eventually be like, okay, I know how to do this now. It's time for me to do that. Where now you probably have a lot more leisure where you can delegate, and you're probably getting more than 4 hours of sleep. But you have to understand the season that you're in and execute based on that season. I want to talk a little bit about your fitness journey, Hardik, because we were talking a little bit before how you were, not in the greatest physical shape, and by committing to that schedule and focusing on your temple, your body, right? Control the controllables. I think your physical fitness is one of the things that you have 100% control over. Can't control the market. You can't control the economy. You can't control if this employee is going to show up on time, but you can absolutely control on what you put in your body and the amount of movement that you do. How do you feel like working on that physical side of yourself has helped the spiritual and also obviously the business as well during that transition from employee to entrepreneur?
Going back to, I think, my the line that I said, right? Build yourself first before you build a company. I think that applies not just to building a company, but just being able to do or help do something beyond yourself. Right? Even if you want to go help a family member, or if you want to support a family, or support a family member, or support a friend, you can't really serve from an empty cup. So you have to make sure that you first take care of yourself, and you are in a position to actually help others out. I think that's where a lot of people, while they have a very good nature where they want to actually help others out, but they do it at the cost of themselves, not taking care of themselves, and which is not good, because you're gonna neither help them nor help you, and in the end nothing works out, right? So from a physical fitness point of view, I think that's the most important thing. I feel that you can I think mindset is the most important thing, and if you work on your mindset, the next big thing that you need to work on is your physical fitness. That in turn also helps you build a very strong mental muscle to do whatever you want to do, but it just gives you that extra bandwidth to tolerate more pain, because when you're doing that every day at the gym, when you're putting yourself through pumping iron every day at the gym, lifting weights, I think it does something for your mental health. And I don't know what that exactly is, but it just makes you, I think the best ideas that have come to me, the boldest of steps I've taken on some days, I've sent so many like meeting invites or emails and stuff like that while I was working out. I had some kind of an idea. It just pushes my mind to stop worrying about smaller problems. Maybe because I'm lifting hundreds of pounds at that point.
Present.
And and it just puts me in a better mental space. And I'm still learning. I keep tweaking my workouts. I keep tweaking all those things. I think in the 2017 to 2019 period, when I was trying to build a company while having a full-time job, the reason I was going to the gym was to make sure that I keep improving, so that as and when that time comes in, when I'm actually leading a big team and where everything is on my shoulders, I'm personally well equipped to be able to handle that kind of pain. And I think I went from 220 pounds in 2017 to 170 in 2019. Yeah, it's around 50 pounds. Yeah.
It's inspiring, dude. Yeah. I think working on yourself, whether it's the physical, whether it's the mental, the emotional, it creates life momentum. When you have life momentum, maybe your business isn't going great. Maybe you're challenged. Maybe you're not getting enough sleep. But if other areas are going well in your life, the things that you can control, it almost allows you to bleed that momentum into other areas that aren't going well. So it's only a matter of time to get that ball rolling. We can't be balanced all the time. We can't have everything going great at our life at sometimes, right? Sometimes we have to sacrifice our relationships. Sometimes we have to sacrifice our business, our health. But as long as you put focus on making sure you're not too out of alignment with the things that you value.
That's a great word, actually.
Alignment.
I believe in alignment, That's everything, right? And it's something that you feel, and your actions start speaking in that language as well. And when you're leading a team, that alignment also shows up if you're doing things right. If if your energy, if you are very clear about what you want to do yourself and for your company, and you communicate that very clearly, you see that energy flow into your employees. You see that every team member doing the things. You see that spark in their eyes, and that alignment. You actually can feel it as things move. So that's a great word that you brought up. Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about Silicon Valley. It's an interesting place. High pace, lots of money.
Yeah.
I would say I lived in San Jose for a year, so not a crazy amount of time, but I felt the energy out there in 2017. And a lot of people, I would say, is out of alignment. You know, they're working long hours, similar to you.
Yeah.
They're paid nice, but it's also high cost of living. So people are making enough money just to get by, I feel like, in some areas. What do you think the energy is like in Silicon Valley? And what do you feel like you've learned from being out there, competing and operating in that environment?
Yeah. I think one of the main reasons why I moved to the US and specifically why I landed in Silicon Valley was I consider Silicon Valley the Olympics of tech. So if you want to be world number one, you have to be amongst the best, right? And you have to compete amongst the best. So I think it definitely makes sense if you are building a very future forward technology company for you to be around those people who have those bold ideas and are putting that into action every day. With respect to working hard, I think everything requires working hard, to be honest. Not everything requires 16-hour days or 18-hour days. It's up to the people that are working on how much time they want to put into it. But I don't. It's very difficult to actually get sizable results in a fast amount of time, like fast amount of time with just 40 hours of work. Yes, there is a good balance and everything that you can figure out. I'm not saying you have to spend 16 hours at the office. But even when I was working 8-9 hours, I was also spending another 2 to 4 hours every day learning things outside of what I was doing. So I think everything will require like 12 hours of work. If you just add the gym time as well, it becomes 14 hours of work, right? So I think what matters is how conscious are people on what they're working on. Is it something that they really want? Or if it's a price that they're paying right now in order to get through a tough time, or in order to pay off some loans, but they know that they're doing this for a fixed amount of time, then they should be very conscious that, once this date is done, I'm done with this kind of work as well. Yeah.
A word that gets thrown out around a lot, and I just used it. I don't love the word, but it's balance. Especially in the Western world, right, where it's all about accomplishment, it's all about achievement, it's all about more revenue, more EBITDA, right, all the things, right. The word work-life balance gets thrown a lot. Do you believe in balance? If so, how do you stay balanced to make sure that all the areas of your life are being tended to and not just the business?
I don't believe in balance. I believe in alignment. And I think it's a formula. Like it's very subjective to anybody themselves what really matters to them. I start my day in the morning. I know I start with writing 4 to 5 goals that I'm going to work on for this particular quarter and the next 2 quarters. And I just make sure that I still write that every single day. It's the same thing that I'm waking up and writing. But I'm very conscious and very conscious in the way I start my morning. And I want to make sure that all the tasks that I do, all the outcome that is expected for the goals that I made for the day, they are in alignment with the goals that I've set for myself for the next year or 2, right? Or those 2 quarters. So I think everyone should give enough time to their family. Everyone should give enough time to their own physical fitness and mental health. But that is, I don't think there's a fixed number for that. So everyone needs to come up with what's right for them. For me, I'm a little bit on the extreme side here. The only time I'm not working is when I'm sleeping. Otherwise, I'm pretty much all the time I'm working, or I'm working out. Yeah, those are the 2 things that I do. I don't do a lot of travel. I only take a couple of breaks a year. 1 break a year, actually. This year, I started splitting it into 2. I call it a think week. Again, this is something that I actually learned from Bill Gates. But this, for me, this is more of a time to reflect. This is 2 weeks, the end of December, every December that I take. And it's time for me to reflect, figure things out for the next year, what has worked this year, what didn't work this year. And just putting things into motion. I think putting in some sort of accountability in place as well. If it's more of a physical fitness goal, or if it's a new skill set goal, I want to learn golf or I want to learn boxing. I make sure that in that time period itself, I find somebody when I have that idea, and I make sure that I book the first class so that I know that as soon as this is done, I'm getting home and I'm meeting that person the next day.
Speed of implementation.
Yeah. And you want to reduce the amount of decisions or ambiguity when you want to be aligned, right? So when you make that decision at your highest, I think when you're in the right mental space, you should just find a way to hook yourself into not getting out of it. So that's what I do when I'm,
Flow, right?
Yeah, flow.
How do we keep flow as long as possible?
Yeah.
When I walked into the studio, I don't know if you even saw me. You were here before me, but you had your eyes closed, you had your headphones on. It looked like you were in a state of meditation or mindfulness or taking a nap. One of the three.
Yeah.
In a fast-paced world that you live in the tech space with crazy Silicon Valley and, you trying to build one of the biggest, baddest tech companies in the planet, how do you leverage meditation? How do you leverage mindfulness? How do you cultivate that presence to make sure you can tap into flow when you need to?
I don't meditate. Yeah, so just to clarify, when you came in, I was actually meditating. So if I have to wait for a long time, or if I have reached somewhere early, I try to reach early whenever I can, whenever possible. And if I have some time, I either meditate along on the way itself. If I'm not driving, I'm meditating if I'm sitting in the back. And if I reach early, I'm sitting and just like spending that 5-10 minutes, whatever I have, just for settling things. Because like I said, I'm pretty much working all the time. So my mind is always hopped up on like doing this thing after this thing. So it's good to take that pause to just come back to the center and, start focusing again. Especially if I'm going to have like a new meeting or something that requires a lot of creative space and cognitive capability to be had in that 1 hour time period, compressed time period. I just make sure that I take a break for 15 minutes at that point. But I don't meditate as much as I want to. I do it maybe once in 2 or 3 days. I wish I did once in like twice a day at least. Sometimes I do. It depends on the time. But for me, the time at the gym is meditation time for me. So that time helps me focus really well. I'm usually solving some or the other problem while I'm working out. And it's not that I'm consciously solving it. It's just going on in the back of my mind. And I'm focused on doing the workout, but somehow the answers come to me when I'm working out at that point. So
yeah, it's crazy. I think when people hear meditation, they think of like a yogi with their legs crossed, like thumbs up in a crazy stance. Where I agree with you. I think meditation is doing anything that you can just be where your feet are. Yep. Be present, whether it's driving, whether it's laying down, whether it's at the gym. And I agree with you. Like some of my aha moments, some of the breakthrough ideas that I get come with me when I'm not consciously thinking about anything. When I'm just in a state of being, it's almost kind of like all the information that I need to know I already have. I just got to quiet things a little bit for it to come through. So I couldn't agree more. Let's talk a little bit about proximity and the work you do. So I know you do a lot of work with AI. It's a hot topic nowadays with ChatGPT and everything that's going on. What does your role look like right now with AI and your company's role, and where do you see AI being utilized and leveraged here in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
We started working on AI and ML pretty early. This is pre-ChatGPT. So this is, I think, in early 2022, we were building a product. At that point, ChatGPT had not come out, and it wasn't this kind of a gold rush like it is right now. But it helped us build a lot of the necessary internal skill set that was needed to actually be ready for this era right now. And so we started, at that point, we were building a product, but as ChatGPT came out, as the demands and the needs of the customers and the enterprise partners and high growth startups, as they changed, we made sure that we had some solutions for their evolving needs as well. So we started a service arm that would help in not only developing AI POCs, but actually taking that into pilot and taking that into production. These phases are very different, and the challenges involved in actually going from POC to pilot to production are very different. To clarify, POC is something that you would create as a small proof of concept when you want to test out an idea and use AI to do it. And POCs usually work really well. And when you want to, when you've done enough engineering and integrated enough modules in your product that you can actually release it to a small set of users, that is the pilot phase. And that is where, like most of the companies, when they are trying out a new feature, for instance, they release it to a small pilot set of customers. And once they get enough feedback and they see that the feature is working as intended, then you take it to production and you roll it out to all of your users. So we started figuring out how we can help companies build that kind of a necessary AI skill set within their companies. When we started actually trying to solve this problem, we realized that most companies lack the necessary infrastructure or the kind of people actually needed to do this. And the biggest problem right now is hiring. Most of the companies that even who are ahead in terms of their thinking, and they want to make sure that they have, they at least start utilizing AI in the right way on the consumer experience side and on their operation side. For them, the biggest challenge right now is hiring, because there's only few thousand people who do this job really well. And in order to hire or build a team, there are a lot of people who are learning right now. So yes, there'll be a workforce that'll be ready for it. But it's still like a good 12-month period for anybody who's a non-tech company who wants to establish their own AI innovation unit per se.
And are these specific engineers, specific developers that are trained in AI, or like where are people learning how to develop this new software?
It's rapidly evolving. So a lot of these things actually, a lot of the work that the machine learning engineers used to do earlier has a lot of that is no longer relevant right now. So whatever they're learning, whatever they have learned is in the last 2-3 year period. So it's a time where it's sort of like a reset, wherein a lot of the skill set and everything that was built, while a lot of the fundamental things are still the same, but still the new skill set that is needed to actually work with large language models is very different than what the skill set was required for companies earlier to actually help build that. And it's very different for different kind of use cases. You have very specific requirements in that case. So I think where companies should be investing most of their time on right now is on the workforce development side, helping equip their employees with the right kind of AI skill sets. What we are doing right now is we work as an extended AI innovation unit for a lot of the companies wanting to launch or get AI ready and then launch AI pilots and then take it to production, which is not very, like I said, so if it's a company that doesn't have a very skilled and a very solid tech team, which is not a core, like all non-core tech companies would have this problem. We are actually trying to help be the extended arm, which saves their 12-month period. And we have a team of folks who have actually been working on this for a long time. So we bring in that expertise of not making those, of helping them launch those kinds of POCs and then taking it to pilot and production.
How do you feel like AI will affect the average American from a positive and a negative? You know, obviously with the boom of social media and the internet of technology, it made a quantum shift in the way that people operate and do business and all the things that people deal with day to day. Do we feel like AI will make that big of a difference? Because I feel like we're still just scratching the surface of what it potentially could be. Like, where do you see the average American being able to utilize this? Where do you see the potential pitfalls? Elon Musk says that AI is one of the biggest threats to humankind. I don't know how I feel about that. What's your thoughts?
I think AI will permeate everyone's lives in every single way, whether they want it or not. So I think it's, and a lot of people fear what they don't understand. So I think it's good. It will be good if everybody starts using it in some way, trying to equip themselves with the knowledge and trying to understand that not everything is doom and gloom. And we are far from actually being able to have any kind of AGI right now, but which is artificial general intelligence. But I think with every new technology shift that happens, you need to be at the forefront of adopting it or at the least understanding it and trying it out, experimenting with it. The main reason being, you think about Nokia, you think about BlackBerry, you think about Kodak, or Blockbuster. What do all of these companies have in common, right?
RIP. They didn't adapt. They didn't evolve. They didn't innovate.
Yeah, so they didn't keep pace with the emerging technologies, and they were number one at their in their own game at that point, right? No one would thought that Nokia was like synonymous with cell phones, um, but they ignored the smartphone era. And same thing with AI. I think companies who either fear it or they don't adapt it fast enough, I think they are at the risk of getting obsolete. And it may not happen right away. BlackBerry didn't shut down right away, right? Like it took them 5 years, three to 5 years for them to go from a number one to eventually going out of business, but or not being the leading cell phone manufacturer. But I think every company needs to figure out their own playbook right now and try to see how they can start adopting this technology and try to implement it in different areas in their company and start getting the necessary knowledge acquisition for them to be ready when things reach a higher maturity level for them to be able to use it everywhere.
It's crazy times.
Yeah.
I saw a video that people that don't adopt AI will kind of be like the 65-year-old CEO that doesn't know how to use email. It's coming whether we like it or not. And it's either you adapt and you ride the wave or you get crushed by it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. I think people fear change. That's one of the main reasons, right? But change is happening. Like you can't really ignore change, right? So, and I give this example usually to anyone I'm advising as well, and like some of the companies that I invest in. It's the same thing that you do at the gym. You have to undergo that kind of a little bit of that friction and pain in order for that muscle to grow, right? You're breaking down that muscle at the gym for it to repair and grow. I think any kind of knowledge or skill set acquisition, if you're not open to keeping yourself educated on it, it's going to be very difficult because things are going to change whether you like it or not. So how will you adapt to it? As an individual or as a company, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Got to keep up with the waves.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about Proximity Foundation, which is an arm of your company.
Yeah.
You're super passionate about financial literacy and education, and specifically India, I believe, right? Helping people just get more financially fit. We talked about physically fit, how important that is. I would say financially fit is up there as well. It's really hard to feel good and be fulfilled and enjoy your life when you're worried about how you're going to pay your cell phone bill or keep your water bill on. So talk to me about that journey of financial literacy for you, and why is it so important to share that information?
Yeah, financial literacy is a big thing for me. I think I want to do more. Right now, what the foundation is doing is we are providing education to at-risk and underprivileged sections of women and children in India. And the education is not the traditional education or the traditional academics of math, science, and English. This is more coding, design, financial literacy is one of the key pillars here. This is mainly because this is what actually I believe that these skill sets help me get to where I am. I started my first job at $150 a month, like I said. So from that to now, having established like a multi-country operation with 50 employees, I think the skill set that got me here was the core foundation was coding. So I want to make sure that this is something that is accessible and available to these sections of the society which has been not been catered to, and I feel giving them access to these skill sets will help them get out of the situation that they are in, help monetize their skill set, build a career out of it, and change their and their families' lives. This actually the foundation, I just established the foundation in May of this year, May 2024. But when I started working my first job, my family didn't have enough. We were struggling financially. I was earning $150 a month, but my mom encouraged me to ensure that I was putting some money aside every month, even at that point, to give back to the less fortunate. So I started keeping some money aside. I was giving money to different causes and different NGOs over the past 10 years. But the money that I was giving, I was not getting the satisfaction of actually seeing what the money was being utilized for. So I wanted to make sure that once I have had enough resources to ensure that we can have boots on the ground and where I can actually get more ground level data of how things are going. And uh, I of the journey of building these multiple companies within proximity helped me understand organization engineering well. So I wanted to also see how we can build a non-profit organization as a startup and see how we can, make the kind of impact that I wish more people were working on. Honestly, on this.
No, I love it. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. I think too many people. I agree. I think tithing's super important. I think giving back, giving is living, as some people would say. But I think it's a whole nother level when you are teaching people on how to financially support themselves. Yeah. You're from India, obviously. You come here and you have a perspective. You're hungry. You want that entrepreneur dream, and it's crazy. People that were born here, maybe they're a little bit more entitled. Maybe they haven't had as many challenges. It's you look at the statistics in America. One of the greatest, wealthiest, abundant countries in the world. And still the majority of people are struggling. It's not struggling like a third world country, but people are still living paycheck to paycheck. They're unfulfilled. They're in a situation where they have less than $1,000 in their bank account. And it's just a lack of education at the end of the day. So I think the more people like you creating companies, creating opportunities, more importantly, creating vessels for people to learn skills that have a very important part on their life, I think is invaluable.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah. I think a lot more people need to actually work on doing this, and not just in India or in the US. I think this is a worldwide thing. I think especially financial literacy, just trying to understand how wealth gets made versus just relying on a monthly paycheck. I think setting a goal of trying to educate. All the resources are actually available online, but it's just about somebody wanting to being able to go and searching that particular term on YouTube and just starting to learn through it. There's so many experts actually giving so much valuable knowledge right now. And I think the most important thing, everything that you were talking about earlier, where if somebody is currently in Silicon Valley working 12, 14 hours, 16 hours, trying to pay off bills and still not being able to make ends meet, that point, I think it's not about not being able to make ends meet. It's the cost of living is high, so they're maybe not having enough savings. But that's where financial literacy plays a major role, right? How can you invest in equities? How can you invest in assets that actually grow in value over time? And buying your own home is not really an asset that you should be investing your first big check in because it doesn't generate any money. And that's the first thing that everybody does, right? Like as soon as they have enough capital for a down payment, I think they go and take off a 20-year mortgage. But yeah, things like that. I think there are a lot of things that if people just took slightly smarter decisions in how they handle finances, a lot can be achieved, I think.
Do you think the majority of challenge out there for people financially, do you think it's an earning problem or do you think it's a investment or spending problem?
I think it's a knowledge and spending problem. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Especially if you're talking about I'm not talking about, I'm particularly talking about the tech sector. If you're talking about companies, that's where my overall understanding is. But if you're talking about like well-paid employees who are earning hundreds of thousands of dollars every year, and if they're not able to keep up with the cost of living, I think it's in the way the money is being spent probably.
You have this concept of why over how that I really love because I agree. Great quote I heard when I got into entrepreneurship. It's Stephen, don't worry about the how, right? If you have a big enough why, you can accomplish any how. Yeah. Talk to me about that. How does that resonate? What do people need to know about the why versus how relationship?
I think my why started very early. Like I said, we didn't have much, so I wanted to make sure that I got in a place where I was financially independent to take care of my family and have enough financial security. So that was the biggest driving force, I think, in the early days. But the biggest why, like I said, when I set out to have that vision of creating a big technology company and a big philanthropic foundation, I think that just fueled me in a way where everything else or the path to get there might keep changing, but the goal is the same. And I had very aggressive goals when I started off, actually. And in terms of the financial numbers and milestones that I wanted to hit, I'm nowhere close to any of those. I never hit those. But along the way, I learned a lot, and I kept calibrating it. And everyone's why is different. Everyone's driving force will be different. It's very important to know what your why is. If you don't have a why, I think you just go out there and you look at the amount of suffering there is, and you could just come up with a reason why you should be making that your why. Be it in your family, be it in your extended family, or just outside of a place in your own community itself. So I think that's a very good way to begin. If like a lot of people, when they are very clueless about what they want to do in life, I think just going out there and maybe working in non-profits or working where help is needed automatically should. If that doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will, right? Yeah.
No, it's good. I'm very grateful. I've through my company over the last 9 years, I've taken a few humanitarian trips to places like Peru and Thailand, and there's nothing like going to a place where they don't have running water. There's no sewage, right? You're literally sleeping in the dirt for 3 days, like building adobe stoves and planting crops for these people that are unnourished and underfed. To come back to America, your problem, your challenges, like all the things that you deal with on a daily basis are minimized. And it allows you to get a little bit more clarity and a lot more gratitude. And then you're able to operate at a higher level because that thing that maybe would have pissed you off before or that would have discouraged you, you now have a greater perspective to hopefully push through that challenge that, that perceived challenge that you had. So. As you've been building this, Hardik, is the vision to potentially sell? Obviously, with tech companies, they have a high multiple. Is it just to be the biggest, best? What's the vision along the way? Obviously, the vision, what you said, is to be one of the biggest tech companies. Has that changed? Is that still the vision? And what does the end game for you look like with this company?
When I set out to build, I never wanted to sell. And I don't want to now either. I want to build this company as a legacy, that it remains even after I am gone for hundreds of years. And it leaves a bigger, greater impact on the people, the planet, with different kinds of technologies. Right now, we are just focusing on software and AI right now, but I eventually want to expand into biotech and health tech as well. And I've been in talks with a lot of different partners and actually venturing into that space. It's still very early, but I don't know a lot about that space. So I'm looking at how I can, everything that I've done today, by the way, everything has been all knowledge acquisition has been self-education. None of this was anything that I actually learned in school. All coding and everything, actually, my degree didn't provide me any of those skill sets. So I feel like anybody who wants to even start off in a new domain or a new field, given long enough timeline with enough consistent effort every day, I think they can get there in a few years' time, right? So my goal with this company is to make sure that we leave a positive impact on everything we do, and especially on the philanthropic arm, right? All the companies that eventually start generating profits, start supporting the foundation, and we can start uplifting and elevating a lot of the communities which are currently behind.
It's crazy that you just said that, you didn't learn any of this in school. It was all self-taught.
Yeah.
I mean, it should tell people. I mean, I tell people this all the time. It's like, it's never a matter of resources. It's a matter of being resourceful. We live in a world where you can literally go on YouTube, go on Google, how to be a coder, how to be a software engineer, how to create a drop shipping company, how to become a elite salesperson. All the information's there. So it's crazy to me that not many people are taking advantage of it, and then they create excuses on why they're not making enough money or they can't support their family or whatever the case is. What do you think about the current schooling system and education? Obviously, you're in this tech space and we're working with AI, which will probably, I imagine, have a big impact on the schooling system. But when I look at the world as it is today, I'm only 31 years old. But just in the time where I was a kid to where it is now, complete transformation, the way that everything is done, from communication to driving with Teslas and electric car. But the one thing that's been pretty consistent from as long as I can remember till today is the schooling system. It feels like it hasn't evolved much. What's your thought on the modern day education system, and where do you think some of these new technologies that are coming out will have an impact?
I'm always in favor of learning skills. I think and learning more hands-on and finding more practical and hands-on ways of learning. I've never been able to learn with textbooks. I think a lot of people are trying to reimagine the education system. I think Elon Musk has a school for his kids and a few gifted students. And
it's like X-Men.
Yeah. Sorry?
It's like the X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's called Ad Astra, if I'm not wrong. And the philosophy behind that is to make kids build something and then learn about it instead of like reading about it. So I think when you do and when you build things with your own hands, it has a much better reasoning and knowledge retention than anything that you would normally do if you're just reading in textbooks and from diagrams, right? I think the education system is up for a long overdue overhaul. And especially in India, there's a lot of stuff that we're still learning, which is all theory. And all of that actually needs to change to learning more hands-on, more practical, more pragmatic approaches of educating themselves. I think with the advent of AI, one of the key things that I think will be great is that it's the entire classroom doesn't have to try to keep up pace with like the aggregate learning or the fastest learning of whatever the teacher is teaching at that point, right? Every student can have their own AI tutor that can give them the individualized attention that they need because everybody learns at different pace and at a different pace. And when they have this tutor who's helping them build that incremental knowledge, then the chances of them retaining that information, using that information to actually build something out is much higher. Yeah. So I'm pretty excited, I think, with the advent of AI, especially in education. More than anything else, I think I'm very excited about its applications in education. Yeah.
Definitely needs an overhaul.
Yeah.
A couple more questions for you, Hardik. You've been amazing, by the way. I know you have a flight to catch here soon. You're an angel investor as well. For those that don't know, you invest in companies, startups, etc. Tell me about that journey and what do you look for when investing into companies?
I usually invest in companies where I've either known the founders for a while and I want to help them grow.
Mainly in the tech space?
Yeah, mainly in the tech space. And I mainly invest in companies that I know something about of that space. I don't try to go outside my area of expertise. So I mainly look at enterprise AI, B2B SaaS companies. And what I mainly look for is the track record of their prior achievements. I think what they have built or what they've accomplished before, how much they think about, how deeply do they think about the problem that they're working on, and how much do they know about the domain that they're trying to build this in, right? Usually people have either, I'm actually very bullish on entrepreneurs who are over 35, 40 as well. A lot of people think that that's not the right time to start a company, but I feel that the amount of knowledge and experience that you've gained at that age is much more than what you have at 21. While I'm not saying I don't invest in or would not invest in a company which is run by 21-year founders, but just the amount of exposure that you had, the career capital that you've had, if you worked in the right places and you've been curious enough, I think the edge that you have over other entrepreneurs is much higher. It's an unpopular, it's an unpopular opinion, but I think, a lot of people don't venture into that. A lot of probably, I don't know if your listeners contains that kind of category as well. I think, but there are people currently going to office, not being happy with their job, being in that job for maybe 10 years, and being always wanting to start a company, but just too afraid to, make that jump. Especially if you've had a good career capital, if you've worked in a lot of companies, you can always go back to a safe job. You try something, it doesn't work for a year or two, and then you can still go back and take that job again, right? It's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I like thinking about the worst case scenario when I take risks. It's like, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Let's not make it so scary and crazy. Let's actually look at it. Okay, that's what it is. Am I okay if that happens? Yes. Okay, let's move forward. I also love what you said with investing. I've lost a lot of money investing in things that I don't know because of hype or because of my friend told me this or that or because of social media, where now my investment philosophy, I'm not investing in companies per se, maybe a couple, but it's what is my expertise? Can I add value to it? Do I fully understand the business or the space or what this guy or gal is trying to do? Or am I just investing because of FOMO and hype? And chances are when I invest out of FOMO and hype, I usually lose my money versus investing because I have a common interest or I believe in the actual product, service, or cause that the entrepreneur is trying to create.
Yeah. And also I personally strongly feel that you should be able to add a lot of positive value if you're investing as well. So a lot of angel investors invest in to put in 10 checks a year, and it's a standard ticket size that I would just want to invest. But they're mainly looking for ROI, but they don't give any time to the company. My philosophy is a little different. I'm not doing it for the money. So I want to see how I can actually help the company grow with my own network or my ecosystem of everything that I've built under proximity, and how I can use my ecosystem to help leverage that network to help them grow. So I think what value you bring to the table as an angel investor is very important as well.
I agree, 100%. Last question for you, Hardik, as we wrap up here. So obviously, you've been in the game for a while. You have a super successful company coming on 5 years. You were, in the space of engineer. If the person you are today, successful entrepreneur, 50 employees, massive tech company, could go back to the young Hardik in India with making $150 a month, what advice would the person you are today give your old self that you feel like would help accelerate his journey to who he is today?
Oh, what a great question. Couple of things. I think I'd say when you're going through a lot when you're a kid, if things are not under your control, you feel very helpless. One of the key things I'd say is just focus on things that are in your control and try to see what change you can keep making on that front every day. How much effort can you keep putting into that every day? And things eventually do get better. But if you focus on the things that are in your control, then things get better eventually, right? And worrying never solves anything. And the most important thing, I'd definitely go and tell my earlier self to focus on nutrition more, nutrition and fitness. That is what actually kept me from achieving the transformation that eventually happened. I was pretty active, but it took me a while to crack the nutrition bit. How macros work, how much protein do you need every day, and how should you balance nutrition with the kind of physical workout and the intensity and just general physical activity that you have during the day as well. I think that played the most important role, and I'd just go back and give all that knowledge to that 21, 22-year-old.
Control the controllables and focus on your health.
Yeah, nutrition and fitness.
Super important. Yeah. This has been awesome. Where can viewers find you if they want to get connected with you?
Yeah, I'm Hardik Jagda on LinkedIn, HARDIK JAGDA. And my website is hjagda.com.
Love it. We'll put it in the link below as well. Dude, thank you so much. I know you have a plane to catch. It was a fun time connecting with you.
Oh, likewise, man. Thanks a lot for having me. It was
Absolutely.
fun talking to you.
Guys, we'll see you on next week's show. Peace.